Alright, so let me give you a quick little rundown of what the silver weapon mod entails. Once you install the mod, you're going to want to come down here to Falkreath. And right now we're standing in front of North Shriekwind Bastion. Here's where we're at on the map. There's Falkreath, Half Moon Mill, Riverwood, Guardian Stones. You get the idea. So you're going to want to come over here. You can read the book if you want. The book contains a lot of information that's already on the Nexus page, but it's pretty much the same thing that's in here. But you can take that and keep it with you if you need to refer to something. Here in this barrel is some ingredients and some items that are going to help out. And it looks like an odd assortment of things, but first off, you've got these two daggers right here. These have two unique enchantments. One of them is a sun damage enchantment, that's the Oriole's Blessing, and Meridia's Justice is a combination of sun and fire damage. So you want to make sure that you at least grab these two and disenchant them. There's also some other ingredients here: bone meal, canis root, death bell. There's some firewood, imstool, leather strips, more tapanella nightshade, orange dartwig, silver ingots, swamp fungal pod, and vampire dust. So you may be wondering, why do we need all that stuff? Well, I'll explain it real quick. We're going to head across the street to my beautiful little log cabin and head on into the forge. Alright, so here we are in the old crafting area. This is my house mod, Lakeshore Cabin, if you're interested. I might as well plug my other mods, you know how it goes. Alright, everything that you can make with this mod is done at the anvil. There are a couple of daggers that can be disenchanted, but the sunfire arrows and bolts, and the other arrows and bolts we're going to look at in a minute, they're all done here. So you can see, we can now make, I've got a mod for some of this other stuff, but this is from the mod, the silver weapons mod. We can make a silver bow. I'm going to grab one of those. You can make silver crossbows, silver great swords, and silver swords. Now in addition to that, we can make silver bolts. Now I don't have silver arrows because I cannot put the silver weapon script on arrows or bolts, but I included silver bolts because you don't have any bolts you can use at this point until you're going to the Dawnguard DLC, except these Sunfire bolts. And they require, as you can see, bone meal, vampire dust, silver ingot, and firewood. Let's make some of those. And we have the Sunfire arrows. Those have the same recipe: vampire dust, bone meal, firewood, silver ingot. Now a lot of times, these do 20 points of damage to the undead. Since I cannot put the silver script on the weapons, I decided to come up with this enchantment. I could have called it a silver enchantment, I guess, if I wanted, but I kind of like the idea of having something that does sun damage. And there's a sun explosion when they get hit. We'll see that in a minute. But also, vampires often have thralls. And thralls can be poisoned, but vampires can't. So I decided to include some poisons in here. So we've got a poison arrow. This one requires canis root. Oh, this one's paralysis. This one requires a canis root and swamp fungal pod, silver ingot, and firewood. And this one will paralyze for 15 seconds unless it can resist. And there's also a bolt with the same requirements, does the same thing. We've got a poison arrow, and when you craft these, you only get one. The sunfire arrows and bolts will give you 12. These only give you one, which is the same. If you're going into alchemy, it's the same thing. You're going to get one poison onto one arrow, and once you shoot that arrow, it's gone. So it's the same thing here. But I included these in there for those people that are not going into alchemy for whatever reason. They don't like it, they're not interested, or for whatever reason. This gives you another option. If you have the ingredients, you can make the poisons. The poison arrow here, this one is just a flat 50 points of damage. And we've got poison bolt that does the same thing. And there's also a lingering damage arrow. This one will deal 15 points of poison damage per second for 10 seconds. It requires an orange dart wig, more tapenil and nymph stool. Also one firewood, one silver ingot. And again, that'll get you one poison arrow. But you don't have to do anything with the alchemy tree in order to make these. You just have to have these on your person. We'll go ahead and make a bolt as well. I think that's one of everything. Let me check my inventory real quick. Lingering damage arrow, lingering damage bolt, paralysis arrow, paralysis bolt, poison arrow, poison bolt, silver bolts, sunfire arrows, and sunfire bolts. That's everything. So the poisons will not work on vampires or draugr or dragons or dragon priests, those sorts of things. There is an odd occurrence though, and I can't figure out why, but if you use any of these poisons on a vampire or draugr, they're going to take a little more damage than they would if it was just a plain old arrow. As you can see, the arrow damage on these is only 7. It's 1 less than the iron arrow, but it's going to do a little more damage. It won't do 50 points of damage for the poison. They don't take a lingering damage effect, doesn't kick in, but they take a little more damage than they would if you say you just used an iron arrow. But it'd be foolish to use these. They're designed for the living, and they're very effective early game and mid game. But sometime after mid game, if you're going into the alchemy tree, you can make stuff that's a lot more potent than these. So I tried to scale these to kind of be mid range, so that they're effective up till like mid game, And the sunfire arrows and bolts, like I said, these do a flat 20 points of damage. There are these 2 enchantments right here, and you should disenchant these daggers as soon as you can. The Oriole's Blessing is sun damage only. This one will do the base damage is 12. It's showing 15 because it's affected by my restoration skill. But its base damage is 12, and it only affects the undead. But its damage is better than, say, a fire damage. Because I think a fire damage is base is 10. And Meridia's Justice here, this one does a little bit. It does 6 points of fire and 6 points of sun damage. That's why it says undead take double damage, because there's a 6-point sun damage effect on here as well. So if you use this enchantment against a living target, it's going to take 6 points of fire damage. If you use it against an undead, the undead's going to take the 6 points of fire damage and 6 points of sun damage. So if you're going up against the undead, this one is better. It's doing more damage. This one's doing a total of 12 points. This one's doing 15. If you're going up against a living, a fire damage would be better than this. But it also means that you may need to carry 2 weapons, one with a fire enchant, one with the sun enchantment, until you get the dual enchant perk. So that's the purpose of Meridia's Justice. If you don't want to carry 2 weapons, this enchantment will work on undead to a lesser extent and on the living, but again to a lesser extent. But it means you only need to carry 1 weapon. So let's go test out some of these things. And let me double check this. Yeah, I've got the sunfire arrows up right now. If only we had some undead around here to plug with the sun damage stuff.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, where'd that vampire come from? You can see we get a nice sunburst effect. Now this Night Stalker is not an overly tough vampire, so it won't take too many hits for this one to go down. Plus I'm on adept difficulty. Now without that, the Sunfire arrows, it would take twice as many hits. I'm trying to make that explosion area smaller, but it's not. I guess it is what it is. Alright, let's try the crossbow. Why not? Maybe we should try this on a Draugr Deathlord, you know what I mean? That'd be kind of cool. What's that? Oh my gosh! As powerful as this is, still gonna take a few hits to get rid of this thing. Unless the Stormcloaks wander by again and disrupt my video. Now they will get knocked back a little bit on occasion from the crossbow. See? Doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough that it makes it fun. You're almost done, buddy. Let's see if we can get him to run away. That's it. Turn to your right. That's it. Gotta love hitting those moving targets. Alright, well, as I mentioned, we've got some poison stuff here. Let's take a look at the poison arrow. But these aren't going to work on Draugrs and vampires. We need something like, oh, I don't know, maybe a bandit chief?
You're mine.
Huh? Where'd you come from? And you can see we get a nice little burst of poison gas.
It's nothing.
It's not nothing, it's poison. Oh, that one wasn't.
Skyrim belongs to the North.
You can keep it. And you're done. Pretty effective on adept difficulty. Again, I put it down here so I can just have it even baseline. I've been doing a lot of testing for like 2 weeks now. Let's try... I guess we could try a paralysis one.
Now ain't this a surprise?
Huh? Where do these guys keep coming from? You know, as long as you're down there being all stiff and everything, maybe we should try the lingering damage health arrow. This one does 15 points of poison damage per second for 10 seconds. You watch his health bar. Oh, there's those stupid Stormcloaks. Well, let's get those guys involved here too. Why not? Well, I missed.
I love a challenge.
Yeah, here they come. Good.
Do your worst.
Alright. She said do my worst. Oh, one other thing. Yeah, just die. One other thing to keep note of. These arrows, they have a radius, an effective radius. And I tried making it a little bit smaller so it only affect the target that it hit. But what happens with that one is if you're hitting them in from, say, the chest level up, it won't trigger the effect because the effect has a certain size and it's measured in units and the units start from the ground up. So, you know, the average character is like 128-ish units. And so if you set it to 75 and you shoot them in the head or in the upper chest area, you're going to be below, or it's going to be above the effective area. So the enchantment won't take effects unless you know, shoot them in the knees all the time. So I had to set that area to like 150. But good news to bad news, depends how you look at it. If there's another character right next to them, it can affect both of them. So you can affect multiple characters with the same arrow, and that applies with the sunfire arrows as well. It's enchanted arrows and bolts. So yeah, you can paralyze or apply that poison effect with multiple units if they're close to each other. So I think that's about it. You've got yeah, bows, crossbows. You can make silver bolts, so you have something that you can use aside from the sunfire ones, because you do need the ingredients for this one. The bone meal is pretty easy to come by. Vampire dust, not so much. But this way, at least you can make regular bolts if you want to, if you prefer the crossbow or the silver bow. Another thing to note here is you can see it does not display here especially effective against undead. That's what you normally see on the silver weapons. The silver script that deals an extra 20 points of damage, it's still here. It's applied to this, and it's active. I just removed the text. And the reason I removed the text is because if you put an enchantment on this, if that text is here, you won't see your enchantment. And that always bothered me. That bothered me a lot. I really hated that. And I like knowing, because, during the course of my game, I'm upgrading my weapons. As my enchanting skill improves, I'll get a new weapon. Maybe it's even the same type of weapon, but I'll put a new enchantment on a better enchantment. But I don't know what the old enchantment was because that text was there. So it's gone. It does not appear on any of the weapons in this mod. And you've got stuff to help you with the living. And again, this is mostly for, when you run into dealing with vampires, they're going to have some thralls. Here you've got you've got stuff here to deal with the vampires. You got the sun damage enchantment, you got the silver weapons, you got sunfire arrows and bolts, but they have thralls. So now you've got something here to help you deal with the living as well. If you're not going into alchemy, which I always do, but I know not everybody does, because it can take a while to get your alchemy skill up. So, and it can take a lot of perks. So anyway, that's going to be it. Have fun, enjoy the mod, and go take the out of the undead.